Crack open that bottle of wine. Grab your favorite glass. Pour a couple of fingers of scotch in it. Get that stick. Light it. And blow. It's time to hang. With Steel Sharpened Steel. After dark. Hello, everybody. You know what it is. We have our special returning, always forever guest host, Jermaine Stewart, with us again. It has been a day. It has been a week. I am Tom Cunningham.
I am Joy Stevens.
And I am not Jermaine Stewart. I'm Jermaine Taylor.
Oh, right. You don't have to take your clothes off.
To have a good time.
Still, yeah, you can unbutton your top buttons and
and
dance
Uncle
the party
Kern
all
was left
night
with his hair.
and drink some cherry wine. So thank you for correcting me, Jermaine. This is Steel Sharpened Steel. We are going to be talking about a variety of topics this week. I am here in Los Angeles, Winnetka, California, actually, to be technical. Where are you dialing in from, Joy?
I am in Montego Bay, the Trelawney side, in Jamaica, at the Ocean's Eden Bay Resort, celebrating my really good friend and Sora's 45th birthday party.
Montego Bay.
Montego
Bay.
Come sing me live. Yo, we had a whole dollar wine contest earlier.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
I
ain't gonna say who won. I'm just gonna say, I represent it. Yeah.
I went to Jamaica about 18 years ago, almost 19 years ago. And it wasn't a contest as much as it was because we were at Sandals. And so one of the people who worked on the thing was like, how to do a wine. And I was like, go on ahead and show me. And then I started doing my little thing, my little tippy tap things and going and say, she said, aye. And I said, okay, that's a good thing. It was, I like that. We did do the talent show, of course. Mm-hmm. And I think we sang Lovely Day and, crowd went wild,
We did karaoke last night. Let me tell you how we ran the white people off last night at karaoke. When I say ran them off, like they got their shit and walked out like, because when we came in there, it was some black people at the bar, another girl celebrating her birthday, another anniversary. So all the black folks singing at the bar, and this white dude is singing. Now here we came in, and he was singing the beginning of "Rolling on the River," and I think that he thought it was the original Creedence Clearwater slow "Rolling on the River."
No, and it switched up in the middle of it. Now I gotta know it nice and rough.
Exactly. And so he was like rolling, and we're in the back, rolling, yeah, rolling on the river. And then, of course, the horns come in. Every black woman in there, we killing it. And he's like,
where'd my song go?
And then you see the words come up again. So the beat is here. And he's like, left a good job in the city.
He's determined to keep it on his tempo.
So then we start singing over him without the microphone. Everybody, right?
Right. Because that's the song that everybody knows.
Turn it. We got a whole choir. So he sat down, and then somebody did Whitney Houston. We were gonna do In Vogue, me and my crew, but they didn't have In Vogue available. So my friend was like, "I'm gonna buy you a drink." I know. Well, it's bootleg karaoke. They're doing it off their phone. I couldn't find it. But they did have T-Pain buy you a drink.
Oh, so there you go.
Everybody's like, what song is this? And I'm up there, By then, all the black people, snap your fingers, do your step. You can do it all by yourself. And I stood up to this girl. I stood up to my roommate, baby girl, what's your name? Because I'm a showman.
Right.
I had them. I'm running up on some dudes with their girls. I don't give a damn. All of y'all 20. I don't know one of y'all. So I'm like, we're in the bed, like, ooh, 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 and they jamming with me. Ooh, ooh. We had a ball. I turned around. All white people gone. They were so sick of us.
Listen, I was in Hawaii, and they had karaoke with a live band.
Ooh.
Oh,
boy. And in Oahu, karaoke with a live band is going to be basically the composition of what your crowd was.
Mm-hmm.
Drunken Caucasian people at birthdays, anniversaries, tourists,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, mostly performing badly.
Yeah.
And so I got up and I said, well, I'm going to go, because it was kind of a D9 night. So
Mhm.
we had like a couple of AKAs, a couple of Your Sorrow, some Alphas, some Qs, and a table of Newts. And so we were sitting in the front, and I said, look, I'm about to go on stage now. And I know that you've been disappointed with almost everybody else that you've heard, but you won't be disappointed in me. So if you want to follow me now, you'll be there when I make it happen. And so the guy, you had to put it in on the iPad or whatever. I put Ascension Maxwell, of course. And he was like, oh. And they didn't know the song, so they had to pull the charts. And I got up and he said, hey man, good luck. I said, yeah, I'm not new to this. And
Move, you're my light.
he said, oh, I like the confidence. And when they started playing, I started talking to the ladies in the audience. I was like, I hope you ladies enjoy Maxwell. Yeah.
Oh, you had a little setup.
Whatever. And when I hit that first note, because he's playing over here, he's got the bass line. He's looking down his little iPhone to get the chords. And when I hit that first note, he was like, and then at the end, he was like, oh, do you want my job? I said, no, I'm only here for another week. You got it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I put my name on to do another song, because I was going to do Kiss.
Oh, God.
By Prince. That's another of my go-tos. I love doing that song. All of a sudden, 3 people who were behind me in the list got picked before me.
They don't want to hear from you again.
And I was like,
to hear you again.
and then the next night we saw him on the corner playing for change on the streets of Waikiki. And I was like, Connor, yeah, it's me. You are right, Anthony. I'm still trying to get the video, but that's a guarantee. Yeah, no, that's
karaoke have always turned into a talent showcase, and by the time
that's
gotten to me, it's like your nerves are sharp. You feel like somebody might be in the audience, and so it's like, okay, this is not fun anymore because I'm not in full voice. So I don't really
not in full voice.
No, so I remember shy away from karaoke, especially ones here in Hollywood, because they turn into like something like not fun. So I don't.
Yeah. There was a spot here in Atlanta. It was a Buffalo Wild Wings back when it was still called Buffalo Wild Wings, or BW3s is what it was called. And they had karaoke on like Wednesday night or whatever. My friend Kurt took me, and it was us and like all his people. Like I wasn't with him. He just brought me like, you need to check this out.
Right.
People got outfits, set lists, costumes. Yes,
the girls
they got choreographies.
Oh yeah, no, it's a whole listen, any place where it's a bunch of Black people, and it's also a talent locus, everything is going to be turned. So Atlanta, New York, Chicago, LA, Houston, Miami, you're going to have people who do that just because.
You're sitting in the audience like this.
Waiting
to judge you. But anyway, so moving
on. You're feeling okay, Jermaine?
I'm feeling fine. I had a tooth pulled on Monday. I'm almost 50 years old, and I'm finally getting a wisdom tooth removed. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
But it just recently started bothering me. I think it's I don't know what's going on with it, but it was sort of crowded back there. But I could live with it for these 49 plus years. But these last recent months, especially this past summer, it was beginning to bother me a little bit. So I just had it removed, and it was deeply. I mean, one of those roots that were like really deep in there.
Yeah.
So all that bacteria that's under there makes you feel queasy a couple of days afterwards. It wasn't a fun week, so I haven't been in the best of moods. But I'm here today amongst my colleagues, my comrades, these beautiful light skins. As you guys put it. Let me tell you guys, that's what they describe themselves in the chat, guys.
Yeah, we did. I was like light skin.
That's true.
And I would
Well,
like to recuse
I am
myself from those
projecting
conversations.
the solar radiation that reflects off of my unmelanated skin. I want that to be a part of your
I'm
healing journey.
okay.
You just get
I'm
the
okay.
rays.
Ever since
White
Wesley
city
Snipes came on the scene, I've been validated.
rays.
Absolutely. Not only did Wesley Snipes come on the scene, he made every woman want to try that.
That's it.
He's like Denzel
So-
was like brown skinned and handsome and elegant and all of that. Wesley Snipes came on like, I will fuck your brains out. We
You
were
know
like,
what I'm
who are
saying?
you?
Always bet on black. That's what he
That's
said.
it.
Passenger 57.
So,
Even
I've
when
been
he wasn't
good
having
ever
sex on
since
screen, he
then.
was having sex on screen. I think it was in his contract. When he did Blade, that first Blade, I remember towards
Blade
the end when she was like, take some of my blood. That was the sexiest shit I ever seen.
Oh, and in Boucher, so he's like, enough, enough. And, he did that. He did that.
Oh, thank you, Anthony Turner. I
Hey, look,
appreciate
Anthony
that.
Turner is supporting
He
all of us.
is.
He is
So-
fan number one.
While we're talking, and Joy is she's just rejuvenating her spirit. She ain't got no particular kind of ailments other than just it's time to be in Jamaica, and she making white people sick with her karaoke-ness. So while we're on the subject of things that are making people ill, this Eris variant, y'all.
Yo.
Oh.
Every time we think we got a handle on COVID, it's
my
like
gosh.
it is as bad as the flu. People forget the flu variant changes every year,
Yeah,
and
Right.
COVID is doing the same thing.
And so
Are
Eris,
you guys still hypersensitive about like getting colds and what have you? Because I had like a little tiff or something over Labor Day weekend,
Mhm.
and I normally, think it's a cold, but because of the pandemic, I'm always defaulting to COVID. I thought I would get over that. But I immediately thought I had this new variant the moment I had a little tickle in my throat. Are you guys still having those anxieties whenever you get anything?
I've had 4 shots. And
But
so
still.
I'm saying that's
Yeah.
not the first thing that occurs to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Obviously, and the new shot has just been approved. It's going to be rolling out
Mhm.
with the quickness. Eris, now you're my fellow geek historian person. Eris is the goddess of discord. Yes. Is that what
Eris?
she is in Greek mythology?
Aries.
No. Eris. She's a daughter of Ares.
Oh, I'm
Probably.
not familiar.
I think
Gotta look
she's
that up.
discord. Ares is the Greek god of war, but this is Eris, Eris, and she's either like discord or misery or something.
How
It's
did they come up with
Okay.
these names?
Eris, her Roman name is Discordia. So yeah,
so it is discord. Okay.
she
I
was
just, go
the
check it.
personification of strife. I'm reading all this. She was the daughter of Nyx, daughter of Night, and
Daughter of
sister
Night.
to Ares.
And
There
the
you go.
Greek opposite of harmonia. So
There
there's
you
her.
So
okay.
Discordia, basically. All right,
Now I need twins. I need to have twins and name them Harmonia and Discordia.
or not. That's a real evil thing to do to your children.
Still,
So, yeah. Oh
that's
my gosh,
recently?
2 weeks. And
I
this
mean,
is-
was she out for 2 weeks or was she gone for 2 weeks?
You know,
Yeah.
because COVID is very convenient nowadays.
Oh,
Mhm.
listen.
Sorry.
I have fake pumped a couple of things I didn't want to do. Like, look, I was around a lot of people and I got a little cough right now. I'm gonna take this COVID test, but I probably shouldn't show up tomorrow just to be sure.
Yeah.
And then come back, oh, it was negative.
You know what's definitely bulletproof as far as an excuse? Almost losing your leg. Nobody questions that because nobody wants to see the photos.
I'm the only one that saw Tom's photos was like, okay, so what is this right here? Wow,
Right.
why
No,
does
she
your
was
whole thing like look like a chicharron? Like, what the fuck is happening right here?
And
Yeah.
that's just not something people would just automatically say.
No, you don't jump onto that. But I will say, folks, especially in older communities, because it's circulating again.
Yeah.
It is going around. And if a husband gets it, the wife gets it. If the wife gets it, the bridge couple gets it. And da 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 da. So in church and everything else, it is time, as some of our Sharpies in the audience have said, it's time to pull out those masks. Y'all know you got 50 packs of masks from Amazon.
Yeah,
from
you do.
2020. They are still fine.
Yeah.
Pull
But
them
do you
masks
guys
back
still-
out.
I'm having that peer pressure thing. Like one day I had on a mask at the grocery store because I just felt the need to wear it for some reason. And I was kind of feeling like I was being internally shamed by a bunch of people because I was like one of maybe 2 people that had it on. And so I just pulled it down.
Don't let the people get you murdered over
At
some
all.
No, but
pressure.
it was just weird.
I had
It's
people
like,
look at me stupid when I had my mask on, and all I did with my mask on, I was like, and they left me alone.
Exactly.
Because everybody's a
It's
big
like
badass about you don't need no mask till they hear you cough.
So they hear
Yeah.
you
And then they're like,
call.
oh my God.
Yeah.
No,
Mhm.
I don't play that. First of all, I guess I was kind of inured to it because for the last 2 weeks or 2 weeks ago, I was in the hospital. And so the hospital staff, because they are around,
Mhm.
almost all of them are masked. Like when they would come into my room and they knew that that wasn't my issue, generally they would drop their mask just so it's easier to talk, blah, blah, blah. But like the nurses that are just coming in to like do my blood pressure and the phlebotomist and all that, they all had masks on. So it didn't even occur to me. I was like, I know this is a thing that's happening
Mhm.
because the healthcare frontline people are doing it. It's not a thing really outside in California yet.
Yeah.
There are some people who are masking up. I have been taking it a little bit more cautiously. And so I have a mask. If I feel I'm in a situation that is compromised, but I haven't been out in the world really. It's been me and my mom at the crib. So I haven't really been worrying about it all that much. But folks, it is serious. It is serious as ever. It is more. Ooh, thank you, Vera.
Jeez, Vera, play with your wig, not me and my man.
I know that's right. Wait. So this is for you, Joy, because I'm sure you've seen this sister. She's a real bout it sister, and she's got one of those big dry erase boards. And she was like, see, what you want to do is you want to go straight over here.
Mhm.
And you want to take a left and stop right by that tree. Then you want to take another left and you're going to come all the way down here. And this right here, this is where you got me fucked up. And that's the energy that I want for anybody else who tries to crisscross the eyes at me. Listen. You see, I'm in this boot. I can put this boot straight up your ass.
Let me tell you, because Mark is like mask up in these airports, because I am in and out of airports a lot now. I just flew to Jamaica, and like Jamaica was saying, you need to have a mask on when you get off the plane. Like we expect that because there was a spike here from Americans. The American tourists brought COVID back and another spike to Jamaica. So like when they hear your American accent, they look at you like, you nasty. What you want? Now they treat us a little bit better because they black folks, they like, y'all got a little bit of sense. The white people, white folks just out here just licking everything and just touching shit. Like, why you gotta touch the food to say what you want in your omelet? Say you want sausage. You don't have to point and touch. I don't even want an omelet now. Now from this side of the bar, I went to a whole nother bar to get an omelet because these white folks don't know how to act out here. And
so it's not surprising that Governor DeSantis is pushing back on the recent CDC urgings to wear masks, and
of course, because that fits his narrative of you can't tell me what to do.
Of a brother, I forget his name, Latipo. What's his name? He's a health director there, Steve Latipo, whatever his name.
Oh, in Florida?
Yeah,
Florida. In Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah,
put that same brother up to be the mouthpiece of it and everything. So they're not going to adhere to the CDC guidelines with this recent variant that's kind of spreading right now.
That's okay. He's in 4th place in the latest South Carolina poll. Oh yes, it is Trump at like 46%. Nikki,
Latipo,
Latipo. Nikki is at 18%. Tim Scott is at 10%.
Oh,
and Ron DeSantis is like at 8%.
What happened to
who's the number one?
Trump, of course. In the South Carolina GOP primary, of course.
Well, Oh, so it's Trump by a landslide, and then Nikki Haley is second.
Well, she was the governor there.
This is South Carolina.
This is South Carolina.
And
not
that's
nationally.
The only reason why Tim Scott is in 3rd place because of South Carolina, I'm assuming.
That's fine. The point is that he's in 4th place.
Yeah.
And you can't be 4th place in South Carolina because there's no guarantee you're going to get first in Iowa or New Hampshire.
Yeah.
You're about to be done, Ron.
DeSantis is done.
Oh,
and because rats eat their own, once he is done, Florida's gonna be looking at him like you're a loser, and we don't want to have a loser as a governor. So watch.
But there's something in place where he can still retain his seat. Didn't he put some sort of measure?
Yes, the Florida legislature changed the law so he can run for president and run for governor.
Right.
But he's not going to have to worry about running for president.
He should just hang that shit up.
He really should, because he's already been elected twice. I don't think he can actually.
There's no statute of limitations.
Oh, there's isn't for
Oh
Florida.
wow! So he could be
There's no
governor.
term limit. No, he can run
No,
forever.
no, he ain't gonna be there forever.
Mm-mm.
They're gonna find somebody to do something better than Val. Um, so that's what we've been dealing with as far as some of these the illnesses that have been plaguing us. These are things that affect all of us. Some of the things that are affecting a much smaller subset of people who claim to be human but may in fact not be is the GOP House and McCarthy, who realized in the midst of a far right breach of his very speakerhood, were insisting on the establishment of an inquiry. But Mark had to talk to some of his moderates, and they're like, we're not voting for this. And you know you don't have any votes on the Democratic side.
So why are we even wasting this time? Yeah.
But what he did is he went on ahead and turned it over to a committee decision. And so instead of having a full floor vote, which is what I think the Senate was hoping for, because the Senate knew the floor vote would fail, Mark, in an attempt to make sure that there was nothing that could technically fail, just put it into committee. And now the committee is opening up this inquiry. And of all people, Mitt Romney said he thinks it's appropriate. Now, Mitt,
goddamn it.
Right.
On his way out the door.
Like, on his way out the door. You're not running again.
Yeah.
You know, and you voted to impeach Trump. You know this, or to convict Trump after impeachment. You know this is some bullshit, but he's willing to be a partisan foil for nonsense.
Yeah.
And Mark McCarthy looks ridiculous. Why would you do this? This is a question I want to pose to you, Jermaine. Why do you think the GOP would do this now in September when the election is still more than a year away? The thing that tanked Hillary was the FBI investigation announcement a week before the election.
At the 12th hour.
You're going to start an impeachment inquiry a year out, and when you know Trump is about to dominate every single headline because all of it, the first trials coming in the impeachment are right around the corner in October.
I just think they're looking for some kind of a win, guys. So, I mean, they're throwing a lot of things at their own, because you know the more you throw at people, the more they're distracted from what's really happening. So they got that. They got the Hunter Biden thing going. They got what else came out in the news? The whole
aliens are real.
Aliens and all that stuff. So all that they're just trying to throw as much out there to distract and just make everybody seem as though the Democrats don't really have their shit together. So I just feel like it's just more of a concerted effort all together, where they can just bombard us with a lot of quote unquote failings within the Democratic Party. But none of it has any merit. None of it has any substance. It gets pushed back the moment it is released. You know what I'm saying? Even amongst their own, they're like, we don't have consensus on this. Why are we even leading with this? And so other than that, I don't have any, sound reasoning as to why they would even open up something like this at this point in the game.
So the other thing that I think that they might be trying to do is, because they are the champions of a false equivalency. And I think that it's somewhere in their mind, if they could have this impeachment inquiry and garner enough votes, they don't have it, but garner enough votes to impeach Biden, they want to draw a false equivalency. Well, yeah, Trump got convicted of a felony, but we impeached Biden, so they're both criminals.
Right.
And that's a story that I think they're going to hold for later, because unless Trump actually goes to prison and cannot function as president because he's in prison, he's still out there. He's still making moves and shit. And so they're trying to have enough possibles in their hand to play however they want to play, They're trying to keep
shows they're very, not even sophomoric, but freshman level of governing. I mean, you have
they govern in the moment. They don't think long term. They only think, what do we need to do today?
Because
and so that's why they always seem so erratic.
In the freaking Democratic establishment, in the House, and you would think that these elder statesmen, they would be like, listen, this is not the way we do things. Even McCarthy, he's considered one of those elder statesmen. So you would think he would have a lot more reasoning. Why did I get bumped up? Did I just grow?
You did. You graduated, the son.
Is my status? Oh my God.
Sit
up a little taller.
I don't know I don't know if Kevin McCarthy is an elder statesman. He is barely holding on. And I think, to your point, Joy, there are no votes there are not enough votes to even impeach him, and there are definitely not enough votes to convict. And they might be trying to, well, Biden was impeached too, but Trump has been impeached twice, and Trump is under criminal investigation right now, which Biden is not and never will be. This Hunter Biden gun thing, okay, they got that. And that's perhaps not unfair. It's embarrassing, but it's not Biden.
But that's virtue signaling on behalf of the DOJ, because
absolutely,
oh, absolutely, it is. No, it's bullshit, and that's fine that it's bullshit, because you know what? Yeah. Far better to get that weaponization bullshit kind of off the table as a talking point. We got him on a gun charge. What the fuck do you want? And
everybody got a cousin on a gun charge,
and it opens up the door to Jared Kushner. They're already running away from that $2 billion. But let's be clear, Jared Kushner was playing footsies with the Saudis the whole time he was in office. Yeah. And then 6 months after he leaves, he gets a $2 billion check, and you're sweating $7 million that Hunter earned over the course of several years. Yeah. Even if he wasn't doing anything, he was at a job.
Yeah. That's chump change.
Where he could be perceived as doing something. And they don't got his dad on anything, and they're trying to make it seem like they do, but they don't. And everybody who's trumpeting up these things and trying to make it big, Matt Gaetz is now even talking trash because McCarthy gave them the inquiry. Well, but you never really intended to impeach. Bitch, you never really intended to impeach. Yeah. You can't impeach him. There are at least 12 Biden seats that were elected in districts that Biden won that are not going to vote to impeach Biden on the GOP side. Right. And you only needed 5 to abandon you. Yeah. And you've got 12 to choose from. So
how many Freedom Caucus members are there? Are there more of them than there are moderates? Because I don't know the numbers.
I think it's a relatively small caucus. I thought it was like maybe 38, 40 of them.
Why do they have so much a big microphone though? Like, why do they have so much power? Like,
same reason the Tea Party did. It's just that's that other voice.
He has a 4-vote margin, and if you control 38 votes, he can't get anything done. He's got a funding the government due vote at now it's only 15 days. Get that done before the end of September, unless
he was kind of beholden to even opening up this whole impeachment thing, because that was one of their conditions on keeping the government open. They said, listen, you have to open to some kind of an impeachment inquiry, or we're going to stop to not fund the government. Right. I mean, I feel like he had his hands tied.
His hands weren't tied. If he were a real speaker, Nancy Pelosi would never let that shit happen.
No, Nancy Pelosi is a beast.
Right. Nancy Pelosi would have walked around there in her kitten heels and knocked some people's teeth out and said, what you doing?
Right. She's gangster.
They still wouldn't talk about Nancy Pelosi like that, because she still has a strong hand.
But y'all mentioned the word
running again, which is surprising to me.
Y'all mentioned the word caucus, and while we're on the subject of caucuses, Congressional Black Caucus.
Boom.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. The annual legislative conference is coming up, y'all.
So I've gotten surveys, I've gotten phone calls, polls, et cetera, from the CBC. Like, so what do you want to see us working on? And the things they have listed, this ain't what I'm worried about, y'all. So when we talk about politicians being out of touch, we like to refer to the far right as being out of touch with the average American. But the Congressional Black Caucus is clearly not in touch with the growing demographic in their own race.
What were some of the things that they're going to have slated on their agenda next week?
Well, they were talking like standard Democratic points. So abortion rights and free health care, or like universal health care.
We feel about that. We're all in one accord with that. Why is that?
Why are you asking me about this? Exactly. Police brutality, which was different from cops being held accountable for their actions. And there was a few other things. And I'm like, what were you going to talk about if not this stuff? But I also want to talk about economic freedom, or financial literacy, or education, and fighting this growing band of trend of lawsuits to eradicate affirmative action. Why is that not on this list of things that y'all are talking about? That's the one.
Voter suppression. That should be number one.
Well, I can tell you right now, because I'm working with an organization that is tracking and is going to be doing some things during the CBC weekend. Everybody in the squad except Ocasio-Cortez has their thing. So Ilhan Omar has a session that she's discussing, and she's kind of getting into her own little bailiwick. Ayanna Pressley has her thing. Some of these issues that you're talking about, Joy, about educational access and freedom, about voter suppression, they are on the list. All these people, Clyburn, all of the big voices that you expect. Now, Hakeem Jeffries doesn't have anything that I've seen so far, but over the course of the 3-4 days that they're doing this, there are a lot of topics out there. If you are going to be in the DC area and you've never been to the annual Legislative Conference, let me tell you, it's a time. There's a lot of Black folks in the DC streets doing a lot of carrying on, and it is an opportunity for you to meet. There are people who are going to be in their offices. There's a day on the Hill when different advocacy organizations are going to be going to different congresspersons' offices and talking to them. That's right. So the CBC, it's the CBC Foundation Annual Legislative Conference, but the CBC is the actual persons who are Black elected officials. Tim Scott is technically in there, just in case you're confused. He is. He doesn't really work with them at all. Then the foundation runs this whole weekend full of these different little things. And so they have, not on the Hill, but they have things in the Washington Convention Center. They've got job fairs out there. They've got a whole lot going on. So if you live in the DMV or you're in New York and you're looking for a gig, and thank you, Patrice, that's great.
Real quick, Patrice, if you're going to the ALC,
we
would love to have you as a guest. Let us know how that went down.
I know that's right. So, because we know you look cute on camera already, so just make sure you're in a place that has some good Wi-Fi, some Wi-Fi. It is an excellent thing to do, and there will be one next year, of course, but next year the thick of it is going to be election, and this is a good time if you're
next year is almost too late. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
So is it almost a celebration, or are there people like trying to move the needle on these issues? Like, I'm always confused as to what's.
It's like we said earlier. You put too many Black people, college educated, to know in one spot, and there's going to be an electric slide. Like, so there's going to be
like the 50th hip hop celebration at the VP's house.
Yeah, listen. The point is that if you are a motivated activist person, that is going to be a very strong concentration of Black, brown, other folks. It's a great place to build some coalitions, to strengthen some coalitions, to get some legislative priorities on, how you can help move things in your district, especially if you go and you are seeking out a session of your actual rep. And you can speak to things that rep can respond to because you are a constituent. It can be very, very powerful. And so, again, there is a registration.
Yeah, I know she's about to put it on them. Like, look, don't be fucking around with my time, energy, and money. Y'all better do something. I'm watching. I can't wait. I would love to get to hear her synopsis.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's about $300 ish to register. And then there's dinners and banquets and parties and all that sort of stuff that costs extra. But it is an outstanding opportunity for, people in our constituency, our Steelies who are Sharpies who would like to be exposed to the beating heart of democracy that is managed and populated with Black folks. I know you do, Patrice. She got her sessions already picked out. It is an excellent opportunity, and I highly encourage you. It's next week, but if you can get you a JetBlue ticket or a Spirit ticket and stay in Maryland somewhere, because you ain't gonna be able to find cheap hotels in the district.
No.
But you get into the hinterlands of Virginia, Reston, Tyson's Corners, whatever, you might be able to have a good time. It is definitely worth the effort, especially when so many of us are so crucially engaged in the good work of trying to preserve our democracy.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. Make it work all the while.
Figure it all the way out.
Guys, they're revving up the attacks.
You can't stop Black women. We gonna make it work.
Oh, absolutely.
They're revving up the attacks against Vice President Harris like none other. Are you guys noticing?
Go ahead, Joy, because I have a take on this, but I've been talking to him. So you can
Well, one, it doesn't surprise me because she is part of the executive branch at the moment.
Right.
Mhm.
I think some of the attacks are, she's vice president. It was gonna happen. But I also think some of them are, let's remember we don't want this little picnic in trying to even think she's gonna run for president ever. So I think it's very targeted. I think the things that they're like some of the negative slander ads, Instagram stories, whatever that I've seen are very much trying to paint her as she's not really with the colored people. Like, well, on one hand, she's not really black. On the other hand, she's not really Indian, which a lot of mixed race kids experience is I don't belong to either. Even though we all claim her, they're like, no, she ain't really with y'all. And then I get offended with people bringing up her criminal defense or criminal prosecutor record.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Which
she
is
was putting black people
distorted,
in
but
jail.
go ahead.
That's because black people was doing shit. She was putting criminals in jail. I mean, it happens. She wasn't
put
only
your
putting
grandma
black
in
people
jail.
racist or anything. It's just, I mean, shit, it's fucking Watts. What you expect?
But that whole
going to
record of
jail.
her doing that is very distorted, and we don't have time to go
Yes.
into it.
We don't. We should definitely talk about it later.
Yeah.
But trying to bring that up again to try to separate her from an obvious base of voters.
Okay.
So she doesn't get that Obama effect, but also just general slander. They were going to do that against any vice president. But Tom, I'll let you take it.
I just want to say all the coverage of her little birthday party where she was Cupid shuffling and getting extra Negro teened.
I was fine with that.
I was fine with it too. Claim it. You went to Howard and you're an AKA. Stop. Like but when she throws out Sarah and stuff like that, that just tickles me because it's like, well, finally. I just wish I had seen all this book banning fire a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I wish you had been out here yelling and doing this the whole time because you're coming in now and I'm looking at you as a liability. Everybody is skirt about Joe Biden. I don't know very many people, if anybody, who believes he would make it all the way through a second term. And so when
how big do you think her plate is? She was handling other things.
Like,
So I don't understand why she.
Like,
well, she was freaking. Her foreign diplomacy was like at full speed. Every time you
what is the biggest foreign diplomacy story of the last year and a half?
Well, whoever knows what the vice president is doing when they're doing relations. But that's what she was doing.
You know what you just did? You took that sleeve of saltine crackers and moved the goalpost. Didn't nobody know what she was doing because she wasn't doing anything of substance. You know that you were on deck.
What determines of substance? Do you have to read it?
You know what? I want to moderate this conversation really quickly.
Go ahead.
Was she doing anything of substance? It's highly possible. Was it on the PR machine? Absolutely not. So whatever it was she was doing, we don't know about it, and that is a miss because she's in a position where she can control that PR, or her PR team can control what's going to the media. So why are we not hearing about what Vice President Harris is doing? That could have been front and center, especially considering all of the foreign policy issues that have happened over the last year. And
our whole stance, HBCUs, right? Y'all vote with HBCUs.
Yeah.
Do you know there's safety grants right now as a result of all those bomb threats that they were being threatened with at HBCUs? Do you know she put safety grants in place? Like each HBCU has a certain amount of money to combat that. Did you know that was happening?
I did. But I mean, that's fine. But here's the thing. She knew she was weak with Black women. Okay. She had an opportunity to be kikiing with Stacey Abrams. She could have been talking to Val Demings. She could be talking to Karen Bass. She could be talking to these power player Black women to shore up her bona fides with that constituency. And I will say this, you know what I knew Joe Biden was doing during the Obama administration? He was whipping votes with his former Senate colleagues to help get Obamacare done. He was in the trenches because everybody knew he was an operator. And so he was supposed to be running silent, running deep. Kamala is the vice president who is normally a person who gets teed up to be president. And she's young, and Joe isn't going to make it through a second term. You can't just be that quiet. You need to be championing Joe. If you don't have your own shit, you need to be out there front and center. Biden economics is working, Black people. Black working mother, this is how Biden economics is working for you. But she's not doing it. And she was a senator, but she doesn't have, I mean, they have a hair's breadth majority, and she's the deciding vote because of that
Mhm.
hair's breadth. And you got Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema dancing around like they about to lose their damn minds. She was never going to be the operator that Biden was, but she's also a cipher, and we can't afford to have a cipher. We just can't.
I don't know. I mean, I buy some of it, but not all that you're putting out there. I feel like you guys are. She's just being seen through the lens of how this world has seen Black women for years. I feel like whatever she does is always going to pale in comparisons, as opposed to
it's always going to be over critiqued and under celebrated. I agree with that.
Feels like to me.
I agree with that.
I've never seen such a really dialed microscope as to the duties of a vice president till now. It's like every little move she makes, she's not going to win. It's just, okay, that's nice because, that's what she's doing. I need more from her. Because
she's the first.
Here's my thing on that, particularly. She's up against what every Black woman that starts having direct reports and moves up the corporate ladder deals with. Your shit's got to be tighter, faster. Like I said before, we are 85% smoke because we've learned to be that way through the course of our lives. And she is old enough and seasoned enough in her career to know what they're going to do. She saw that coming a mile away. I'm going to take it back to Obama. In his book, was it The Audacity of Hope? He talks about doing cocaine when he was a young child or a young teenager in Hawaii. Not so he could be all vulnerable, I'm sharing all this, but so you can't use this against me during the general election because I put it in a book. It's over and done with. The statute of limitations is done. I've talked about how I changed my life since then. So there's no dirt to dig up on me because I put my dirt on Front Street. That's why it's in the book. Now, how this relates to Kamala, you knew they were coming for you. You knew what they were going to do or try to do. So you understand that all of your deeds are going to be buried. Dig them up. You understand that they're going to try to denigrate or diminish your work. Blow that shit up. Every ad I see for Biden is all the great shit he's done, and she ain't in none of them ads.
None of them pictures.
Right? Not near one. Every picture I have of Obama, Biden is riding shotgun on every picture. Right? Even the memes, Biden made the Black memes like he was one of us for a little while. Even when we were making fun of him, we knew what he was up to. We knew where he was. I don't know where Kamala is. And I'm speaking as another Black woman. And here's the thing. If she ran for president, I would vote for her because there's not a lot of alternatives. But at the same time, I think that she is allowing, and there may be reasons for this because I don't know, but it feels to me on the surface like she's allowing herself to kind of be marginalized, for lack of a better way to put that, because it's the safest bet, because Joe is kind of our Obi-Wan Kenobi only hope at the moment. And so she may be getting the message, don't fuck this up, because we just need you to be quiet until we get reelected. That could be part of the reason that we're not hearing a lot from her outside of people that follow politics for real. And people that follow politics for real are not the majority of voters. Most voters just show up with sound bites in their ear, and she don't got no sound bites.
A checklist of a lot of things that she's actually elevated, a lot of conversations that she's elevated, a lot of people that she's brought to the White House who's never had a voice at the White House.
Here's the thing, though, I
you guys will find a way to sour that because it's just not enough, and that really bothers me. That it's just not enough, even amongst this conversation. Like, who has?
No, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Wait, Jermaine, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that what she's doing is not enough. I'm saying that just like when I was in sales, you could sell $1 million worth of stuff. If you didn't put that shit in Salesforce.com, it didn't exist. It didn't happen. And so no matter what she's doing, it's not getting the press it deserves, so we can celebrate it.
But
and the average person,
clickbait worthy. Everything.
Yes, it has to be in this society. Otherwise,
because it's not fair. Nobody said the shit was fair. It's politics. Right. Donald Trump has 4 fucking indictments, and he's the odds-on favorite to be the GOP candidate for president of an office he lost. It's not fair. Nobody said the shit was fair. Listen, Chan, we had something on the Chan. Wait a minute. Hold on now. Don't dance off that one. We had Chan up here for a second, and this is something that I feel is true. It may not be fair. I've seen Kamala Harris be charming, but most of the time when she's getting coverage, it's not her having an issue where she can be America's embraceable darling. She is shouting down Ron DeSantis. I love seeing her shout down Ron DeSantis because Ron DeSantis is a thug. But if there were some balance in doing some collaborative stuff where she's with some Black female legislators, she's with some working mothers, she's with constituents that she needs to shore up, That's the smart media play. Whatever else she's doing is fine. She's in the briefings, but she's not on Joe's back. She's not in Joe's lens. He's not really seen as a partner, and that makes her somewhat disposable. I said 5-6 shows ago that I would feel more comfortable with the Democratic win if she were off the ticket. That's just me being a person who is
You
more.
know how dangerous that sounds, Tom?
I understand exactly how dangerous it sounds. And I also understand that a 4-time indicted future felon is counting on inertia and the ability of the ignorant 27% who are never going to abandon him to walk him into the White House so he can pardon himself. And guess what? That's more dangerous to me. Yeah. Kamala not being president is not as dangerous as Trump being president. Sorry.
I also want to point out that I am not a supporter of we got to be 10 toes down for all Black people because they Black. I mean, I think she's doing a great job. Like I said, I just like everybody else, like it's a catch-22. I'm still riding with her. I'm in the same boat with her with a little bit more positive spin, a little bit more positive feeling towards her than like when I remember when Hillary was running and everybody was like, girl, I guess I'm with you. Like, I'm not really feeling you, but this is the lesser of two evils. If Kamala ran, I'd be like, I feel like she could do a good job. I feel like she could be president. I still feel like that. I'm only saying the press that she is getting to the average voter, the block that the Democrats are going to have to go after, because they're not going to get the old fogies. They're not going to get the boomers. They got to go after Gen Z and Gen Alpha, who's turning 18, like in the next year or so. They got to get them and if you want them, it's TikTok, it's headlines, it's sound bites. That's what they respond to. If it's not trending or viral, they're never going to hear it because they don't even watch the news. So it's got to come from a media outlet that they see. And all they've seen recently is her on Instagram dancing for her birthday party, which is, what is she doing?
How did you guys view that? You thought that was more like too little too late, or she was just pretty much trying to shore up a base that she didn't know if she had or not? Like,
I thought it was just fun. I don't think it was any political thing behind that.
No, she's a woman celebrating her birthday. She's entitled to celebrate her birthday. I think it was great. I thought the celebs that came out.
Well, that was a hip hop celebration. That wasn't her birthday, was it? I thought it was the 50th hip hop. That was the 50th hip hop celebration at the VP's house. It wasn't her birthday.
That she was, the thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine because anything to me.
I hear you, Vince, but I'm talking the last this whole term, not just this past year or so.
Yeah. No. Mm-hmm. Anything that makes her more Black to Black voters is a positive because Biden is having trouble with Black voters. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the Black she's in October, she's a Libra?
Sure.
Go on, Kamala.
Oh, does she get points for that, Tom?
No, that's a bonus. Shit, I'm a Libra.
I just ride hard for it, and I just know the lens and this way that she's been skewed, and I've seen how it's sort of permeated into our culture. Because I hear these conversations even amongst my own, even my family. My mom's like, "Well, what is she doing?" Yada yada. I'm like, "Mom, where are you picking this up from?" Because I never heard you say this when Pence was president, even when freaking Biden was vice president. I never heard her echo these things. But I'm hearing a lot more people, a lot more us say that. And I'm wondering, how is this narrative being pushed on us all of a sudden?
She is the first female vice president, and she's half Black. And her boss is going to die. People care about the vice president more than they have in the last 7 administrations because nobody was expecting the POTUS to die.
Let's also remember that Obama was the first internet president. Right. There was no Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, social media stuff before he became popular in 2007, 2008.
Right.
He was the first president to have a Twitter account or anything. And so all of this is new. And you got him with Biden 8 years in a row. Then you've got the crazy. And that was almost immediate. And you see how he's been on social media. And when you talk about nobody talked about Pence, we also said Pence wasn't doing shit but playing with his sister, mother, wife, whatever the hell she is. Right? So but there was nothing to be said about him. But we don't wait, hang on. Okay. We don't think about how negatively we might spin it on Pence because he's not on our team. But so now here we are, and I'm not criticizing what she's done. I'm saying it hasn't been publicized to good effect. Whatever it is that she's been doing, because I move around a lot and because I don't always follow news, my touchstone is, if I ain't hearing about it, ain't nobody hearing about it younger than me, because I'm barely tied into some things. And unless you follow politics, which very few young people do, to the point where you're digging into stories and actually reading articles, they're catching sound bites, and the sound bites aren't there for her. Now, that's not fair to say, well, it's not fair to say, well, they were there for Biden or when he was vice president, whatever, because he was the first vice president to even have a sound bite, because it wasn't a thing before that. Clinton and whoever ran, Clinton and Gore, they didn't have all this stuff. You got it from a newspaper. Nobody reads newspapers anymore except the boomers, right? And so her issue that I'm struggling with is not that she's not doing anything. Her PR team is not showing what she's doing in a mass way. And I agree with like Chan and who else was in here? Vince, that, it really only matters maybe the 5-6 months leading up. That's when the millennials and the Z's are going to like
really tune in,
their head above water and figure out who they're going to vote for. But there also needs to be some background into that too. So the campaign trails are starting. I need her to be better out there, which is why we're starting to see stuff from her now. I don't think it's too little too late. I want her to come out strong with, here's my record. That's what I want to see.
I guess I'm just rubbed by the fact that anytime she does get mass publicity, as you're saying, when it's just really pushed out there, it's always something not in her favor, something very negative. I mean, when she was running for Senate out here, this whole infidelity thing, or her sleeping with the mayor of San Francisco.
I remember that.
That was permeated.
But
that could have happened to anybody, though. That wasn't a black thing.
She was running for Senate. That was what I will say is that I think another thing that is slightly different about this cycle is that the hyper-partisanship of the nation has never been more acute. And let's be clear, as much flack as she's taking for not being, some breakout spectacular person, Joe Biden is taking a lot more heat for being slow, old, incompetent, making mistakes. He's getting a lot more negative heat than she is. She's just kind of like a non-entity right now. People aren't constantly criticizing Kamala. They don't have much to say, that's right. This is exactly what we're talking about. Patrice, she should be the standard bearer. You got Karine Jean-Pierre out there. She is the press secretary. She's doing more of a job of establishing black for black folks than Kamala is. Get Kamala in a press briefing. Get her in a press avail. Let her say some of this stuff. So the whole point for me is we need more. She is a capable woman. She ran a great Senate campaign. When she was running for president, she had a lot of shit she was talking. When it was added to the ticket, she began to minimize. And since they won, I don't feel she has been doing enough for herself.
But it was because she was added to the ticket that he did win. And I think we're forgetting that.
Well, I mean,
you got to admit,
I don't know that I would go.
What votes did she bring to the table that he didn't already have?
Right. I don't know that I would go that far. I think it was a watershed moment. I think there were plenty of women who really wanted, even though they didn't want Clinton per se, I think there were plenty of women who were excited about the prospect of getting a woman into the executive and putting a woman on the path to be POTUS. But to say that she was a person who got, and listen, I supported the hell out of Biden Harris when that became the ticket. I supported the hell out of them. I didn't say nary nan a thing. I was one of those people talking about she was a Kappa sweetheart. She's an AKA. She went to Howard. Fuck you. She is black. Don't try to pull that bullshit, blah, 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 blah. I rode for them the whole ticket. But there were more black people voted for Trump than voted for Bush. Let's be clear.
Well, that's a whole new different issue.
You said she won the White House for Biden. I don't know that that's true. I know if more black people voted for Trump than voted for Obama, then that means black people migrated away. You can say it's because Trump is a superstar celebrity. You can take whatever the fuck you want.
It's because Trump is a misogynist, and there's a lot of black people that rock with misogyny.
There it is. And so that means
those
black men weren't coming to the party because of her. They were being pushed away because of her. Because of their own. So what
accounted for that huge number of popular votes that Biden won over Trump? Like, what was that?
They weren't black popular votes.
Right. They were just popular votes. And let's be clear, there were plenty of states Georgia could have gone the other way. Arizona could have gone the other way. 7 million votes that came from New York and California don't mean shit. They've got fixed electoral votes. That's what it comes down to. So we always run up the votes on the coasts. That's never the issue. It's the fact that you got all these other states in the middle where things were a lot closer. And Joe did not carry some of the states that many of the states that Obama carried in his first run. And here's another thing. Pick up any states off of the second round.
I just feel like we need to be more mindful of our open criticism of her going forward, because it's already out there. And I feel like the notion that a Black woman will be even closer to ruling this country scares the hell out of even the most open-minded white person.
Well,
so
of course,
we at least can be in lockstep, even if we have these issues about her leadership and her not, really sounding the alarm on all the things she's accomplished. I think we're the last people that need to come from. That's all that I'm saying. Okay. It should be an in-house thing.
Okay.
This is in-house though.
This is kind of
in-house. So like we talking to our folks and our people, we keeping it in the house. It's not like we going on Face the Nation or CNN or saying and talking shit about her. And if I ever got that opportunity, that's what I wanted to say. Like I can love you, it doesn't mean I have to love you unconditionally. And I can talk about family the same way we talk shit about Denzel, we talk shit about Oprah, we talk shit about a whole lot of Black people because we talk shit about people to ourselves.
You know what, Mark Stepney? I have my buzz phrases, okay? I do. I have my buzz phrases. And I hope you get drunk as hell.
And I like this conversation that we're having about whether like being in lockstep. I like what you're bringing up, Jermaine, and I think it's a very salient point. Like as pseudo journalists, whatever you want to call us, do we have some sort of obligation not to fuck it up for Black people that are out in the public eye? I think yes, but I also think that with the things that we're saying are not critical of her. Is offering suggestions of what the average voter might need to see in order to continue to bolster her numbers. I'm not saying she came to the job. I'm not saying she shouldn't be considered. I'm rocking with her. I'm supporting her, but sometimes support is fucking tough love. You need to do this and step your shit up because I want to see you there, but I need you to help me help you. I will give you some money, some more money, because they done tapped me a few times. I need to see these things from you so that when people ask me, what are you doing? I can send them some links. You know,
right? We just
there are plenty things that she's doing. Oh, I love you guys. Thanks for indulging this conversation.
No, it's
been bubbling in me because you guys said something about her a long time ago on my first show. So I'm thinking, I'm coming back.
It can't be steel sharpens steel wool. It's steel sharpens steel. So
again,
make us all better.
Yes, I'm glad you brought it up because we cleared it up a little bit. And I don't want to be seen as being like anti-Kamala or not supporting her sister, but I do want her to do the things that she's going to have to do. Yeah, it's not fair. And the stuff that what I'm talking about, Trump don't have to do it because Trump is every fucking where all the goddamn time. Even DeSantis gets press that the white press will give him that he doesn't deserve. I
feel like that moment with her and DeSantis, she went rogue. Because she felt that deep in her spirit.
Yeah. And I love that.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think it was a scripted moment. I feel like, you know what, because I can't hold myself anymore. I got to go back on this. But at the same time, I feel like it was kind of like out of character for the White House for her to even do that.
Mm-hmm. So and that's the question I have too. Like, I don't know how much freedom she has to do what we're talking about. Maybe it's impossible because, as I mentioned earlier, maybe they did ask her. I think somebody else says Vera says she's holding some of her fire. Because she doesn't want to overshadow Biden the way Palin overshadowed, what was his name?
McCain.
But
Palin, I don't disagree that she's holding back so as not to overshadow him. But Palin's bigger problem was that she was an idiot and actually ended up hurting McCain.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, has an opportunity to actively support Biden in a way where she is being underutilized. Right. And especially in the spaces of dwindling and questionable Black support for this president, she is a person who could be making more hay out of things like these book bans. Florida should be the locus of the fight. because he is the most agreed. Even Greg Abbott's trying to chill the fuck out. He isn't even being as crazy as he used to be because he sees that DeSantis.
Well, he has a court case right now he's in the middle of, so he can't be too loud.
Right. And Ken Paxton, his AG, is doing the most. Okay, we're at an hour. Go ahead, Joy.
We're in an hour. All my friends went to dinner 30 minutes ago, and so now they're asking me where the hell am I?
Right.
So,
okay. So
I'm gonna leave y'all to it. Y'all take off. Mwah, mwah. I'm gonna go.
You're gonna go feed your face.
I'm about to go do a lot of things that y'all will not hear about next week.
So
yeah.
Oh, before you go, Joy was positively the most charming Queen Charlotte in the history of cosplay at Dragon Con.
Yes, she was.
And she got all of the fever and the energy from them people. Sorrows, prayers. And she did, it wasn't just that. She wasn't just a spectacular Queen Charlotte. She had a bunch of different costumes and a bunch
of Tavern Wench. I did Queen Charlotte. I did Handmaid's Tale. So I went from a handmaid to the queen, one day to the other.
Mm-hmm. Big hats, big hair. So you go get your Jamaica on. There are a couple of other things that Jermaine and I can talk about, and then we're gonna let you guys go to have your Thursday.
Yeah. See y'all next week.
Goodbye. See you
Bye,
next
Joy.
week. Moby.
Have some rum.
Oh yeah, for sure. Have some rum. She out here. All right, Jermaine.
It's the boys.
Yeah, it's just the boys.
Mr. Cunningham.
So we only have two more things, and we kind of just really kind of drifted into it because as we were talking about Vice President Kamala Harris, we kind of also addressed some of the issues that are happening with Biden. Mm-hmm. We didn't exactly touch on what's going on with his son. So for those of you who are not aware, after what looked and what was perceived as a sweetheart deal on Hunter Biden's tax stuff, which he had actually already cleared up and paid all the penalties, blah, blah, blah. But there was this gun charge thing. And so all of it was going to be swept away. There was a plea deal, blah, 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 blah. All of this weaponization of the DOJ bullshit came out. And so they rescinded the offer and they actually indicted him on this gun shit. So, you know, I'm of a mixed bag. Jermaine, we've been talking all show about perception and the unfairness and all these other things. And, you know, we talked earlier about how this kind of opens potentially some floodgates on Jared. Do you feel on balance that having Hunter actually indicted takes a little bit out of wind out of the sails because Hunter may actually be facing some real repercussions?
I feel like the repercussions I don't think he's actually going to go to jail for any of this stuff. I just feel like it's just going to be more of a drag on Biden's platform altogether. Mm-hmm. My whole thing is there's just a lot of hypocrisy in this. I mean, we're your Second Amendment gun people right now. I mean, shouldn't they be rallying in support for him being able to have a gun at the same time? So it just sounds like a huge, you know, very hypocritical, you know, thing to even be charging him with. My only thing that I do worry is like, how long would this drag on? Because, you know, the more people hear about this and connect it with Biden, some kind of way it'll seep into his overall favorability. And then he might even lose more support than people that might be on the fence. I just wonder, like, how long would this thing drag on and how much of effect will it have on Biden altogether?
I mean, my sense is that like a lot of federal cases, usually they don't bring a federal case unless they feel that they can convict. You know, it's a 96% conviction rate when federal charges are filed. So it's probably pretty open and shut. I had some familiarity with an FBI investigation case. And once the case started, it didn't actually take that long for it to be concluded. Right. So from indictment to actual start of court to actual conclusion of the case, it wasn't a particularly long time frame. He has already tried to plead out. It remains to be seen now that the indictment has actually happened and the charges and what path he's going to take. You know, he's already had quite a bit of trouble, but there's going to have to be something. Yeah. It's not going to be a good look if he gets away, you know, with just a wrist slap, or else they're going to make hay out of that. And that is going to last a lot longer. I personally don't feel that familial scandals of offspring, you know, the two Bush girls had their own little peccadillos during George W.'s term.
But that was just them being young, right? It had nothing
to
do with
it is.
Okay.
There was, but, you know, still underage drinking and it's a bad look, blah, blah, blah. Hunter's a grown-ass man, okay? Right. And he has never held public office,
Yeah.
and he's not on the ticket. So yeah, you could say, but at the same time, you know, all three of Trump's main children, I mean, you don't count Tiffany and Barron, but all three of Trump's main children are a part of this New York case.
Yeah.
They're all in this civil case with the misrepresentation. So there's so much other stuff, bigger stuff going on that's just, pow, 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 that I think it's very easy to get subsumed. Hunter Biden gun charge versus Joseph Biden, who is innocent and is not going to be impeached, versus all of this negative stuff that's coming out, not only about Trump, but everybody who was around Trump. And that kind of leads us to what I think is going to be our last segment of the show tonight, which is about Mark Meadows. Now, Jermaine, that Mark was pushing to try to get his indictment in the Georgia case, the RICO case, thrown up to federal court for any number of reasons. One, because he thought maybe if it went up to federal, it might be able to be dismissed outright. Sure. But two, the expanse of potential jurors would be greatly opened up if he were bumped up to federal, because it wouldn't just be Fulton County. It would be Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, those suburban Atlanta districts, all of which could have been more favorable to him. However, the judge ruled this week, nah, son. And perhaps it was Brad Raffensperger's testimony who said there is no federal component to counting Georgia's votes. And so he could not possibly have been.
Well, what he was saying, he was acting in the duty of his job description, which is under, like, whatever he was doing for Trump, it was within the scope of him being his chief of staff.
Well, but that's,
and because chief of staff is a federal position.
Right.
What's it again?
But that's where he bumps into the Hatch Act.
Yeah.
The president has roles.
Right.
The chief of staff cannot work on the political side of things.
Right.
So what they said is that, yes, if you need to be aware that Trump is going to be on a phone call, that's within your scope. But for you to be on the phone call actively advocating in a purely political sense, and that phone call is recorded, and the guy who was receiving the phone call said, yeah, that was some bullshit.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been doing that. That's where he got stuck.
And that's my whole thing. Had there not been a phone call, Tom, he would have had a chance of getting that case moved from state to federal.
Had there not been a recorded phone call.
Phone call.
Because there were 3 phone calls and only 3 big phone calls, and only 1 was recorded. Yeah. So that's how Lindsey Graham got off the hook, because Lindsey's call was not recorded. And because it wasn't recorded, it was a he said, she said situation. Right. And so they weren't willing to proceed with an indictment on the basis of that. But everybody who was on that phone call, those people who were in real trouble. And so it remains to be seen. But Mark Meadows took a big risk. He actually testified for some 5 hours, trying to get it moved. And since it hasn't been moved, of course, he has appealed. The 11th Circuit is kind of trying to fast track it. But he asked the judge to pause his indictment while he appeals, and the judge said nah. So the 11th Circuit is actually going to be examining it. They're going to be trying to see if there's going to be a determination, but it does not look good. And because it doesn't look good for him, sorry, all you fake electors, none of y'all are getting kicked.
You mentioned Lindsey Graham. They released the names of like 31 other people who had, things to do. Do you think there's potential risk of them being indicted a little bit further along as this goes, or was that's just more of a scare tactic? I mean, why do you think we even got that information?
Because it was a special grand jury, and the special grand jury issued a report.
Right.
And so the contents of that report are available to the public. Now, yes, you were invited to appear before the special grand jury, and you fought it tooth and nail, and then you finally testified. So, that special grand jury didn't have the power to issue indictments, so they issued recommendations. It's not unfair to say, we thought you were a lying-ass dog and that you should have been indicted. But the people who had the decision to make chose not to indict those people. Yeah. So, I don't think it's unfair. Well, first of all, Lindsey's a snake anyway, but maybe you shouldn't have been doing that stuff. You tried to say it was a part of your official thing as the Judiciary Committee. Again, you're from a wholly different state. You have no responsibility. The federal has no responsibility in trying to count Georgia's votes. So that was just some bullshit. And you sat there and allowed yourself to be suckered in by his campaign and suckered in by Giuliani and the other people who were lying on his behalf.
Sure.
When the facts on the ground, by the time all of this came around, 3 recounts and audits in Georgia.
Yeah.
He was just wrong. And Rudy looks like an asshole. And now there's been 2 judgments against him with Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Shay Moss.
Shay Moss, yeah.
And that's before they even get damages. They hit him for 133. Now the mom and daughter hit him for $100,000 in legal fees. And, that's why it's $100,000 plates, which are not being sold out, by the way. Giuliani is
and
not
that home he's actually trying to sell in New York. So
he's trying to sell that beautiful apartment.
I actually feel like that list of those recommendations, I feel like what Fani and whoever decided who was going to be indicted did, I feel like they just weighed it out because she had to be judicious. And I mean, she could have been seen as pretty much indicting anybody that had anything to do with it. So I feel like she had to exercise restraint and be very methodical as to who she knew that could actually be convicted of these things.
Right.
I do wonder, though, the technicalities of it all. Can anyone be gotten off on the technicalities, things that we don't know yet that you might even know? Like, can somebody slide through, or if they all go down, if one goes down, will they all go down?
Well, no, it's even in a conspiracy, and everybody's not charged with it. I mean, the people who are in the conspiracy who are charged under the conspiracy part.
Right.
If the conspiracy is proven,
okay.
And they've already separated 2 because Chesborough asked for his to be separated, and then Kraken, Sidney Powell, asked for hers to be separated.
Yeah.
So they asked for the speedy trial. She wanted to indict, or she wanted to try everybody at the same time, so that the people who were now going to be coming later would not have the advantage of knowing what she was going to say.
Right.
Because those RICO people, you can either be found guilty of being a part of the conspiracy or not found guilty of being a part of the conspiracy. It's not like we've proven there's a conspiracy, and so everybody who was charged with being a part of the conspiracy is automatically tagged with that. You can still be found not guilty of being a part of the conspiracy. But as an elector who signed your name to some stuff, if they prove that your guilt there, probably all of those electors who did not get plea deals are going to be found guilty.
I see.
And that would also mean they were a part of the conspiracy and would likely be found guilty under the conspiracy. But everybody's different. I mean, there's a chance that Trump won't be found guilty of anything. I mean, hand to God. But
no, I just wondered because the fake electors thing, as opposed to the PR girl, the black people, I forget their names, Harrison and
Psycho.
Those are 2 different things that they did, all within the umbrella of trying to get him to win the state of Georgia. They did 2 different missions. They had 2 different missions.
Well,
so I just wonder.
Their conspiracy part was intimidation of those electoral officials.
Exactly.
So everybody did not intimidate electoral officials.
Right.
But the intimidation is what locked them into the conspiracy, because the allegation is that they were directed to influence an electoral official's role and responsibilities for the sake of the Trump campaign. So everybody, the electors are kind of more or less in the same, they have the same sort of pod. The lawyers are more or less kind of having the same sort of pod, although
the intimidators.
and so Chesborough is saying, well, I never even met half of these people.
Right.
But because he was at the very top level of kind of organizing in the memo and laying out the strategy, he's kind of like at the top of the conspiracy along with Trump and then some of these other folks. So it remains to be seen. It will certainly be interesting. I don't think Chesborough is on nearly as solid ground as he thinks he is. I know his lawyers are talking up a whole bunch of yin yang about how, this is just Hawaii 1960 again, but it's not.
No, it's
absolutely not. Please don't fall for that okie doke. It is super easy. The New York Times, Washington Post, any number of reputable news outlets have put on opinion pieces and essays about how it is totally different. Not the least of which reasons is there was an active recount still in process when the Democratic electors met and signed their certificates. And it was conditional. If he is found to have won, we are the guys. He had not been found to be one, and there was nothing that was going to make him found to be one. And so when they signed those things, they weren't signing them as conditional like some state electors did.
Right.
Some state electors literally said, this is only if he is found to have won. That's not what Georgia said. Georgia said, we are the electors for Georgia. and we want our votes to be counted for Trump. That's what their positioning was, and that is why they are in the hot water that they are in. Just the electors. I think to your broader point about why these 31 people weren't indicted, 19 is a whole shit show in and of itself.
Exactly. So I felt like she had to weigh it out.
Adding 30 more people on there wasn't going to make it any better or easier to do. So,
are the RICO's like laws, are they different in each state? Because what I learned when I was sort of like researching RICO, Georgia actually tailored theirs differently than the way they are in New York. So are they like are they varied in each state?
Well, Fani Willis has certainly used it more creatively than some states have.
Mm-hmm.
The overarching, I mean, it was all more or less started to curtail mob activity, but she has been creative in expanding what the definition of racketeering and conspiracy is. And she has used, well, she's got this YSL thing that's going on interminably. She did the Atlanta school cheating scandal that she turned into a RICO thing. And now this is a political RICO case, which is brand new, really. Yeah. So, you know, every state has its own vagaries on its code. They have different things in different states all over the place. You got different marriage ages, all sorts of different things. So this is no different, but Fani Willis is definitely doing a different and very novel application. And of course, for this novel application, she's going after some pretty big fish. So it'll be interesting to see over the next several weeks as we gear up. We're just over a month and a half away from the start of the court case for Chesborough and Powell. Powell is not in a great position.
No. It's just always my notion that anytime somebody revamps a way of like trying people, they do it with Black and brown people in mind. We're going to get more you guys in jail. And it's interesting how this particular RICO has hardly any Black and brown people in it.
Well, but her two previous RICOs are basically all Black.
Yeah, but you know,
it'll be seen. I'm anxious to see how it develops. You know, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts, and as the impeachment inquiry, which is different from an impeachment trial, just so people are clear, an inquiry is not the start of the trial.
Ain't really going nowhere, is what you're saying.
They're asking more questions. They ain't gonna get all. And it's gonna die on the vine. So with that said, we want to thank everybody for joining us this week, and
thank you guys
for taking away from her Jamaican oxtail meal or whatever it is she's
and rum punch.
And rum punch. And I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be feeling healthy. And so with that, I will say I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Jermaine Taylor.
And this has been Steel Sharpen Steel. We'll be back next. Guys. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.